record. All right. So here we are. This is our exciting challenge. We're getting started today. We're going to be really looking at what are some of the things in my life that, I can see maybe aren't going exactly the way I'd like them to. And what is the easiest way for me to change that? Either that's building a habit that that you really want to have as a important aspect of your life. Maybe it's breaking a habit that you really don't feel comfortable with. It's not in alignment with who you know yourself to be and the life that you want to create. So that's what we showed up here to do. I'd like to start by first sharing a little bit about myself. You should always know who you're getting your information from. And so, as you know, I'm Lori Montre. I'm a trauma-informed eating psychology coach, which means I understand the role that trauma and the nervous system and overwhelm have played in your challenges that you now may have with food and body. I help women, instead of telling you, hey, eat the broccoli instead of the cookies, you already know that. That's not something that you need me to teach you, right? So I help you understand, why do I want to eat the broccoli, but I keep eating the cookies? Like, what's going on there, right? And it's actually not as complicated as you may think. There's actually very good reasons rooted in psychology, physiology, and both for everything that you do with food and otherwise. And so that's what my work is all about, helping you understand, what is the underlying need? What is the role food is playing for me in my life? And how can I change that? How can I overcome these patterns that that are not serving me? And so that's the beautiful work that I get to do every day. I want to also tell you how this topic that we're dealing with today, building and breaking habits, how does it fit into the bigger picture? Because it's not the end all be all. Breaking and building habits is really important, but there's other aspects to overcoming our challenges with food and body. And so I just want to briefly highlight those. And I'm probably going to tell you about them throughout the challenge, because I really want you to understand how these things all fit together, how these are all pieces of the puzzle, right? So really, I teach these 5 pillars, and these are the 5 pillars of my freedom program. Pillar number 1 is self-acceptance and compassion for where you are today, even as you work to build the changes that you want to see. This is crucial to success in anything, right? The second pillar is this particular pillar that we're dedicating the challenge to, which is changing your habits. And there is a way to go about it that works with your brain, with neuroplasticity and what we've learned with neuroscience. And so there's a very specific way that we can go about changing habits that is supportive and makes it so much easier. So that's pillar number 2. Pillar number 3 is working with our thoughts. Because if we see ourselves as someone who is not capable, or if our thoughts say, I'm just somebody who's meant to be heavy, or this is just who I am, or I have no control when it comes to food, or, I could go on and on all day talking about the ways that we think out of alignment with who we want to be. And so that's the 3rd pillar. The 4th pillar is learning emotional resiliency, because so much of our eating is fueled by the emotions that we are experiencing, right? And so if we have not learned the skill of allowing our emotions, being aware of them, processing them, knowing how to let them move through us without the use of something outside of us, then we're going to continually turn to things outside of us in order to help us deal with emotion, whether that is overwhelm, stress, loneliness, anger, all of the above. The 5th pillar is that piece of nutrition. What is it that, every body is different. So how do I learn to nourish my body so that I have energy, so that I don't experience a lot of cravings, so my digestion is good, etc. So those are the 5 pillars. That's the bigger picture that I teach when we're overcoming challenges with food and body. These are the things that we can focus on. And today, during this week, we're going to take one of those, pillar number 2, habits, and really sink our teeth into that, learn a lot more about how to go about changing habits. And as I said, we've learned so much about the brain and how it can change. And so that's the beautiful, we want to take that knowledge and we want to use it to the full advantage so that we can make it easier, even the things that you've tried in the past. We can make it a lot easier when we harness the power of all of this incredible science and research. So let's get started in the challenge. Today, we're going to talk just a little bit. I want to keep you guys, I don't want to take up too much of your day because I know it's like, how do I fit more things into my day? Maybe, you're feeling kind of like there's enough for me to do, and taking on this challenge, if it's a lot of extra time and effort, I'm not going to be able to carry through. So I want to be very cognizant of that and really just give you the quick and dirty each of our 6 days together. But today I really want you to understand a little bit about why habits are so hard to break and build, right? You probably have heard this a dozen times. What fires together wires together, right? That's such a popular saying now, but really what that is saying is that when you continually repeat a behavior, your beautiful efficiency-loving brain, right, creates a strong neural pathway for that behavior so that that behavior gets easier and easier for you to perform over time. And this is actually, it's brilliant, right? I mean, come on, this is perfect. We're telling our brain, hey, this is a good idea for me to do this. Obviously, because I'm doing it over and over, and the brain's like, okay, awesome. You think this is a good idea. I'm going to help you put it on autopilot. And this is what helps us, be able to do 15 things while we're driving down the road, right? We were tuning with the radio, we're maybe doing our makeup, we're taking care of kids in the back seat or whatever we're doing, right? When we see the red or the yellow light, our foot immediately comes off the gas, goes to the brake. We don't think about that. It just happens automatically. So this is one example of how your beautiful efficiency-loving brain knows what to do without you really having to be present and conscious, right? So habits are awesome, unless they're not, right? So what I mean by that is that sometimes you probably would prefer that your brain was not as amazingly efficient as it is, right? And that's what happens when it comes a lot of times to emotional eating, to other habits, right? That we have that don't feel good, that don't feel in alignment with who we want to be. But once those neurological pathways have been established because you perform that behavior just a few times, right? It gets plain hard to turn the tide and change your behavior to what would actually serve you. But fear not, because like I said, we have so much research, we have so much understanding of our beautiful efficiency-loving brains, and we also know how you can work with your brain to build and break habits, as opposed to, fighting it or relying on willpower for everything. Because as we know, willpower, it's not an infinite supply, right? It's going to work once in a while. So if we continue to just rely on willpower, we're always going to be disappointed. That's not the way to reach our goals. So that's the purpose of this challenge, is to learn that neuroscience, to learn how you're going to be able to harness the power of your brain to make the changes that you want to see. So in order for us to do that, right, we have to decide on the particular area of focus that you want to have for the next 6 days. And I know you could probably come up with a list of 25 things that you would love to change, build, or break. But I think it's very useful, and I really encourage you to choose just one for our purposes of our work together. The rest will be there. Get the method down, get some wins under your belt, and then start turning it to that beautiful list that is in alignment with who you are and the goals that you have. So today's integration is for you to sit down with yourself and really choose something that is just on your heart, that's really resonating with you, that you know is like, low-hanging fruit, right? If I do this thing, if I build this habit or break this one habit, I'm going to reconnect with my power. I'm going to reconnect with that part that's reaching for these other beautiful things. And when I say that one thing, I don't mean, the whole big picture. I'm not going to emotionally eat anymore, right? That may be a bit big for the beginning stages of this work. You might want to choose something smaller. Okay, so I have some ideas for you to try on. This is going to be, you don't have to write all this down because I've created an integration workbook for you. And I'm going to send that to you in the email with the replay of today. So you'll have the integration workbook for you to download or to look at online, whatever is easier for you. And this is what I explained in the integration workbook, is that I want you to think about a couple of areas. And this is not to limit you. If you have an idea outside of what I'm suggesting, by all means, that's wonderful. But just to get you started, just to give you something to start to think about, I broke it down into movement. So this does not mean that I want you to go and start a hardcore regime, not at all. I want you to think about what kind of movement your body likes, right? Tune in and listen to the ways that your body likes to move, because movement is a very natural and nourishing thing for the body. We're meant to move. And so that could be an area that you decide to really put your focus on during the challenge. You may be wanting to look at the types of nutrition that you're giving your body. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people will come and say, sugar's out of control for me right now. I really don't feel good about the way I'm using sugar. My body doesn't feel good. And I don't feel like I'm making choices when it comes to sugar. It feels like sugar's making the choices for me. So that may be an area to look at. And for other people, it could be, alcohol, wheat, dairy, any of these things, how would you like these to look in your life? Instead of the way they are right now, what would you like for the role that you'd like to have sugar in your life? Is it, I'd like to enjoy that a couple of times a week, or, whatever it is, really asking yourself and asking your body, what's in alignment with my true self here, right? With respect to these different types of food. None of them are bad. None of them need to be cut out of your life. Always and forever, none of that. It's just really asking yourself what would serve you best. Okay. You may also want to shine a light on some behaviors that you either want to build, right? Like the movement or anything else, literally, just because this is a habit building and changing challenge for emotional leaders. You can literally use it, right? And all of the tools and everything that I'm teaching could be used for anything in your life. So it does not have to be limited to that. But, you could look at maybe you have a habit of overindulging at meals, always eating at night, having ice cream every time you sit down to watch TV, snacking while you're making dinner, or snacking throughout the day. These are the kinds of things that you may look at and say, yeah, that's just not really in alignment with my goals. That's not who I want to be. I'd like to work on that during this challenge. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's, so again, the integration work is for you to sit down with yourself, not just pick the first thing that comes to mind, but really ask yourself, what would serve me best right now? And it does not have to be the hardest thing that you could imagine right now, right? It might be good for you to get your toes wet a little bit and try something that's a little bit easier and start to see yourself as that competent, wise, powerful person who gets to decide how you're going to do life and what the things that are really consistent with this higher, beautiful version of you. So that's the integration work. And I will say, integration is key. It absolutely is. It's great that you're here and we're talking about habits and how our brains work and all of that, but that information is not going to translate into transformation. I promise you that. It's a necessary step to understand, and the more understanding we have, the more compassion we can have, the more motivation we can have, because we understand why we're doing what we're doing and why it works. And so it's invaluable, but it's only, 50% of the equation, right? And the other part is really you taking this information and working with it in your own life, in your particular circumstances, and with your own goals and with your own wise woman, right? That knows the things that you want and knows the things that you're capable of. So I want you to sit down with that wise, beautiful, incredible part of you today that is ready for change, and ask the question, what am I going to focus on over these 6 days, right? Today, I learned that, the reason why I'm continuing to do these behaviors, or the reason why I'm struggling to develop some habits, is just my beautiful, efficient, loving brain. But I'm not my brain. And I can actually, with the right tools, support, and guidance, I can actually override that to create what would serve me better. Okay. So sitting with that wise, beautiful part of you, what do you want to change? What did you show up here to do a little bit differently? Remembering we don't have to fix it all, right? Then there's nothing to be fixed anyway. It's just about learning to live more in alignment. There's nothing wrong with you. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you, and you're not doing anything wrong through these habits. It's just simply how our brains work and how we develop efficiency in our lives. So taking the integration work, I really, really want to encourage you to use the Facebook group. I want to see your responses. What is the habit that you are choosing? And this is really important, because when you take that extra step to put your intentions out to the group, you are declaring to yourself, to the universe, that you are ready for this change that you're talking about, this change that you are entertaining. And that's a really big deal. And it really does provide a lot. It's a whole different energy when you're showing up and you're declaring that for yourself. You're also helping everybody else in the group, because when we start to get in there and bond and build community, that's when women make changes for themselves, for each other. So let's be that for each other. Let's really get to know each other a little bit by posting our integration, posting questions, posting things that you're noticing, awareness that you're gaining, all of the things. This group is only for us. It's only for the people who are similar to you, signed up here, either because they have challenges with food and body and they want to do life differently. So please do use the Facebook group. I'm in there this week. I'm watching, I'm responding, so I can give you some extra support that way as well. I also wanted to make sure, and I'm going to put in the chat right now, the link to schedule call with me so that I can get to know you a little bit and understand the changes that you want. And I'll be able to guide you and share for you in a different way when I'm able to connect with you. I have loved getting to know several of you already through these calls, and I look forward to getting to know more and more of you. So with that in mind, you're going to have a little bit of integration work for each day. And that is going to be in the workbook, as I mentioned, just so it's easy and you have everything right there at your fingertips. before we sign off and you have the opportunity to go and sit down with your beautiful, wise, powerful woman who's going to help you and direct you during this week, does anyone have any questions that they'd like me to address, or anything that is not clear about our week here together and what we're going to be creating? And those of you on the replay, I know there will be more people, certainly are. I think we've got, even though we're not all in the Facebook group, we've got about 75 in the challenge. So just know that you are part of a beautiful community of people who are ready to change. So let's harness that beautiful energy that we're collectively bringing here and support each other and receive that support as well, because that's a big deal. It really is. There's so much research around support and community, and I really want to harness that for all of us. So wonderful. If you're watching the replay and you have a question, post it in the group, because like I said, I'm going to be in there this week. I've cleared many things away, and I really want to devote some time and energy to all of you who are showing up for this incredible work. And so take advantage of that and do be reaching out. Okay, my loves, I don't see any questions. So I'm going to let you get busy on your integration work. I look forward to hearing about what your beautiful, wise, powerful woman tells you is the best place for you to put your focus this week. And looking forward to just kind of going through this week. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about how to use stepping stones, how to build your ladder from where you are right now to where you want to be, and get the win every single day. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know how I can support you. And with that, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.